Right now, imagine this with me. Tomorrow morning you wake up, and instead of automatically reaching for your phone, instead of diving into other people's lives, problems, and energies, you do something radical. You say just 5 phrases to yourself. 5 simple statements that will become the foundation of a new life. Not in a year, not in 6 months, starting tomorrow. Because what I've understood after years of studying human potential and transformation is incredible. The conversation you have with yourself in the first moments after waking up is the most powerful programming session your brain will experience all day. And most people waste it completely. When they wake up, they immediately begin loading their minds with someone else's reality. They check notifications, scroll through news feeds, and allow the world to determine who they should be before they decide who they want to become. But not you anymore, because now I'm going to share what changed everything. 5 phrases, only 5. If you say them with intention, with feeling, with absolute certainty, especially in those early morning moments when your subconscious is most receptive, they will literally rewire the neural pathways in your brain. Your brain does not distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. This isn't philosophy, it's neuroscience, a proven fact. Every time you repeat these phrases, feel them, embody them, your brain creates new connections, new pathways, new possibilities that did not exist before. Before I give you these 5 phrases, it's important to understand one thing about true transformation. Most people believe that changing their life is difficult, that they need a 12-step program, a $1,000 course, or a complete life overhaul before they can become who they want to be. And that belief keeps them stuck for decades. The truth is that change happens instantly. Real, lasting transformation occurs in moments of decision, when you draw a line in the sand and say to yourself, "This is who I was, and this is who I am becoming." The vehicle of that transformation, the tool for installing a new identity, is language. The words you say to yourself, the internal dialogue you repeat every single day. Think about it. Right now, there's a voice in your head. We all have one, and it constantly tells the story of your life, comments on your experiences, and shapes your perception of who you are and what you are capable of. For most people, that voice is not an ally. It's a critic, a doubter, a collection of limiting beliefs absorbed from parents, teachers, society, past mistakes, and disappointments. It says, "You're not smart enough. You're not talented enough. You're too old. You're too young. You don't have the right connections. You're a failure." And most people believe that voice. They think it's protecting them. They think it's being realistic. In reality, it's not. It's simply repeating old programs, replaying data and stories that have nothing to do with your true potential. The 5 phrases I'm going to give you are fundamentally different from typical affirmations. I'm not asking you to stand in front of a mirror and repeat words you don't believe. That doesn't work. The brain is too intelligent. If you tell yourself, "I am a millionaire," while being far from that reality, your brain will immediately reject it, creating cognitive dissonance and making you feel worse. No. These 5 phrases bypass the logical mind and speak directly to the subconscious. They are believable, attainable, and powerful enough to create immediate changes in your state, focus, and behavior. Because what truly matters is not what you think or even what you believe, it's what you do. Your actions, your choices, and the person you become through them create real transformation. Here's the secret most people ignore. Your life right now is a direct reflection of your habitual thoughts and actions. Not random thoughts, not hopes or dreams. Habitual thoughts running beneath the surface, shaping your behavior without your conscious control. Those habitual thoughts were installed before you could question them. From ages 0 to 7, your brain operates in a theta state, the same state as hypnosis. You were literally in a hypnotic trance, downloading information about the world, about yourself, and about your capabilities. As a result, you're walking around with an operating system installed decades ago. It runs your life, makes decisions, and shapes your reality in ways you don't even notice. It's like wearing tinted glasses and believing the world naturally looks that way. That's why trying to change your life simply by working harder or wanting it more doesn't work. You're attempting to create new results using an old program. You can't run new software on an outdated system. But here's the good news. This system can be reprogrammed, updated, and upgraded with new software. And the tool that makes this possible is the same one that formed your original habits: repetition and emotional intensity. Repeat something often enough, especially in an emotionally heightened state, and it takes root. It becomes automatic. It becomes part of you. That's how you learn to walk, speak, read, and ride a bicycle. And that's how you will learn to become the person you need to be in order to create the life of your dreams. So the first phrase is, I'm exactly where I need to be to become who I am meant to become. Read it again. Feel it. Let it sink into you. This phrase is powerful because it does something most people never do. It removes resistance. It closes the gap between where you are and where you think you should be. That gap, the feeling of being behind, of wasted time, of being too far from your goals, is one of the most destructive forces in human psychology. It creates shame. It creates anxiety. It paralyzes you. Because if you're already so far behind, why even start? But this phrase changes everything. It says that your current position, whatever it may be, is not a mistake. It is not proof of failure. It is not a sign that you are incapable of greatness. Every master was once a beginner. Every expert was once confused. Every successful person once faced difficulties. And they all started exactly where they were. Not where they wished to be, not where they thought they should be, but where they truly were. And that is exactly where you are now, where you need to be. Because every experience you've had, every mistake, every failure has given you something valuable. Knowledge, wisdom, strength, resilience, perspective, everything you will need for the road ahead. Lessons that could not have been learned any other way. When you say this phrase every morning, you do something revolutionary. You accept reality as it is, while simultaneously declaring your intention to transform it. You're not denying reality. You're not pretending everything is perfect. You are acknowledging that this moment is your starting line. And from that line, you can move anywhere, become anyone, create anything. The past is not a prison. It is a classroom. You completed the course. You learned the lessons. You paid the tuition. Now it's time to apply the knowledge and become who you are capable of becoming. The second phrase builds on the first. It moves you from acceptance to action. I choose to see obstacles as opportunities for growth. This phrase is critical. Here's what happens to most people. They set a goal, feel inspired, begin taking action, encounter an obstacle, a challenge, a problem, and immediately interpret it as a sign that they made a mistake. They think the universe is telling them to stop. They interpret resistance as rejection and give up. They drop their hands, return to what's familiar, and tell themselves a story of failure, thinking, maybe I'm just not meant for success. But that's not true. Obstacles are not stop signs. They are proof of growth, evidence that you are stepping beyond the familiar, that you're on the right path. If you stayed in your comfort zone, doing only what you already know how to do, there would be no resistance. Everything would be smooth, but there would be no growth. No new skills, no strength, no resilience. You would simply stagnate, slowly fading inside. We were not created for comfort. We were created for growth, for overcoming, for facing difficulties and emerging stronger. When you say this phrase in the morning, you change the filter in your mind. You stop seeing problems as reasons to complain and start seeing them as lessons, as opportunities, as part of the training process. That shift in perspective changes everything. Because it is not events that determine your destiny, it is your response to them. The story you tell yourself, the meaning you assign to what happens. Two people can face the same obstacle. One will break, the other will rise above it. The difference lies in interpretation, in internal dialogue, in the story they create. Now the third phrase. I trust the process of my own unfolding. Why is this so powerful? Most people are constantly anxious about the future. They are afraid of making the wrong decision. They waste energy fearing wasted time. They are paralyzed by the fear of regret. All of that anxiety comes from the belief that there is a right path and a wrong path, and that choosing the wrong one means catastrophe. But life is not linear. Growth is not linear. Transformation is not linear. Life is cyclical, spiral-like. It unfolds in rhythms and seasons that are not always obvious, but reveal their perfection over time. You don't see the full picture while you're in the middle of the process. You don't understand why something is happening until you look back. Later, sometimes years later, you see that a failure prepared you for a better opportunity, that rejection protected you from the wrong choice, that a painful experience gave you empathy and wisdom to help others. There is an intelligence operating in your life, not an external force, but an inner navigation system guiding you toward your highest good, even when your logical mind cannot see it. And then remarkable things begin to happen. Synchronicities, unexpected opportunities, the right people and resources appearing at the perfect time. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. Not because you're lucky, but because you are finally in harmony. You've aligned yourself with a natural flow of growth and expansion that was always available to you, but that you couldn't access while you were consumed by fear, the need for control, and resistance. The fourth phrase speaks directly to what stops most people more than anything else. It addresses the voice of doubt, the voice of unworthiness, the voice that whispers that you're not good enough. The phrase is this: I am becoming a more capable person with every action I take. This is critically important because most people compare themselves to those who have already achieved what they want. They look at someone who has been mastering their craft for 20 years and compare their first day to that person's 7,000th day. Of course, they lose that comparison. The gap is obvious. They feel unskilled, inexperienced, or unsuccessful, and they use that gap as proof that they're not cut out for it, that they don't have what it takes, that they should quit before embarrassing themselves further. But that's absurd. It's like a kindergartner comparing themselves to a college professor and concluding they're stupid. You're not supposed to be at the level of someone who has practiced for 20 years. You're supposed to be at the level of someone who is just beginning. And if you're just beginning, the only relevant question is, am I better than I was yesterday? Am I more capable than I was last week? Am I growing? Am I learning? Am I improving? If the answer is yes, then you're on the right path. You're doing what needs to be done. You're in the game. You're in the arena. You are developing the skills and abilities that will take you to the level you desire. This phrase reminds you of something essential. Abilities are not given at birth. They're developed. No one is born great. Every person you admire, every person you look up to, every high achiever started out unskilled. They made mistakes. They failed. They looked foolish. They doubted themselves. But they kept going. When you say this phrase every morning, you remind yourself that you are in the process of becoming. You are not a finished product, and you're not supposed to be. You're learning, growing, evolving. Every action, no matter how small, contributes to that evolution. Every time you act despite resistance, you build discipline. Every time you push through discomfort, you strengthen resilience. Every time you try something new, fail, and begin again, you build courage. You are becoming someone capable of handling the success you desire. You are building the capacity to hold the life you are creating. The fifth phrase is the most important. It ties everything together. It builds the bridge between who you are now and who you are becoming. It is this: I commit to showing up as my highest self, regardless of circumstances. This phrase is the key. Most people are motivated when things are going well, when they feel inspired, when circumstances are favorable. They take action and move forward. But as soon as difficulty, apathy, or change appears, they break. They stop. They give up. They tell themselves, I'll start again when I feel motivated, when things get easier, when circumstances improve. And they spend their lives waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. Greatness is not built on motivation. It is built on commitment. It shows up when you act despite not feeling like it. When the work is hard, boring, uncomfortable, when every cell in your body wants to quit. That is when character is forged. That is when transformation happens. That is when you become a different person. Anyone can act when they feel motivated. Anyone can pursue a dream when everything is smooth. That requires no special strength, but to act when everything is falling apart, to stay committed when you're afraid, to take steps despite exhaustion and doubt. That requires something most people don't have. It requires a deep, unwavering commitment to becoming who you are meant to be, regardless of emotions, circumstances, or the external world. When you embrace that commitment, when you embody that level of devotion, you tap into a power unavailable to most. You stop being a victim of moods and external conditions. You don't need everything to be perfect in order to show up as your best self. You become the kind of person who creates excellence regardless of conditions, who achieves results despite obstacles, who expresses their highest self no matter what. Such a person cannot be stopped, cannot be defeated. They will inevitably achieve what they set out to accomplish, not because of luck, perfect timing, or ideal circumstances, but because they rely on themselves, on persistence, character, and the willingness to do whatever is required to reach their goal.